Okay, now I mentioned that, well, actually, I didn't mention, I demonstrated how to do a shape that is a path. A path is just kind of like a vector shape. It can be any shape. It can be a circle, it can be a rectangle, an oval, or a polygon, one that you make yourself. And that is made using the pen tool. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. The first thing I'm going to talk about, though, before we even get into the pen tool for creating shapes, is I want to go back and show you how to use the pen tool to make selections. So I'm going to get rid of both of these layers. I had shape 1 selected. I held the shift key down. That selected layer 1 by shift clicking as well. And now I'm going to hit the trash can and I'll get rid of them both. Now if I go over to paths, see which layer is that on? Not really on a layer. Paths are kind of like layers, but they're not. So I've got this path here called the work path. And I'm just going to get rid of it too. I'm going to drag that down into the trash can. And now I'm going to go back, and this time I'm going to make the pen tool. And I'm going to do that as a path. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to zoom in on, yeah, this is what it looks like. It's, yeah, I'm shooting with an iPhone at a low light. So it's very grainy. It's a cheap little old, very old iPhone. But let's say that I want to get this building right here. What I can do is I can go to the pen tool, then go up to the control panel, hit path, make sure that's selected instead of shape. Notice how you cannot use the pen tool to create pixels. And I'm going to create very simple, I'm just going to, since this is a nice artificial shape with no curves, I'm just going to use straight lines here, a series of straight lines to make an outline of that building. Now, this time I held the shift key down, and you'll notice how that became an automatic vertical line. Again, that's called constraining. This time I'm not going to hold it down, and it's still, for the most part, a straight line. Once you make a point with the pen tool, you can move it and adjust it with the arrow keys on your keyboard. If you want it to be perfectly vertical, like that line is, looks like it's supposed to be right there, then just hold the shift key down, and that'll keep constraining. Now, this is not a vertical line. One thing you really want to do when you're making a selection using the pen tool is zoom in as close as you can. Now, that's not too cool there. So I hit the undo button, and I want to move that point out just a little bit, point, vertex, whatever you want to call them, and go across the front of the roof, and then down, and then get all the way down to here. Although, actually, I think, yeah, well, it's kind of hard to tell. I think what it does, and this is why you should zoom in, is there's some sort of structure there. It's impossible to tell, and you know, if you can't tell, then who's going to know what's right and wrong? But anyhow, one thing I've done, and another thing I want to point out is when you're doing this, when you're creating a path to use as a selection, which is what I'm going to eventually wind up doing with this, stay inside just a little bit. You know, you're going to have to shed. You're not going to select all the pixels, but that way you won't go over. I'd rather be a little bit too much on the inside and lose a pixel around the edges than to be on the outside and get this nasty outline. So now what I'm doing is I am using the pen tool the way that it's meant to be. I'm clicking, I'm left clicking, I'm holding down, I'm dragging out, and see those lines with the dots at the end? Those are called handles. And I'm not going to lie to you, there's just no way to really learn the pen tool unless you practice a lot. Hours and hours and hours. So what I'm doing is something that's not going to come easy, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. Everyone's just going to have to do a lot of practice. what I'm doing is, you'll notice as I click and drag out, those handles affect the slope of the line before, the curve before, and the curve after. When I start adjusting these, you'll see what I mean even more. But anyhow, let's speed this up here some. Alright. Now see how right there I've got a little bit of the building behind. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to go to, actually, no, what am I thinking here? I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to hold the path selection tool down, and I'm going to convert it to the direct selection tool, click on the path, and now I can move vertexes around once I've made them. So I can kind of fine tune some things here. You can click and drag like the marquee tool to select more than one vertex at a time. So instead of just moving that one, I want to move both of these at the same time up a little bit. Move this one over just a little bit. So anyhow, so yeah, there's a path. And you're like, yeah, right, whatever, what's it good for? Well, here's the cool thing. What I'm going to do, once you finish the path, then go to your direct selection tool to zoom in and go over each of the points, or vertexes, whatever you want to call them, to get it as close as possible with like 1 pixel on the inside of the object that you're tracing around, and that's what you're doing, you're tracing around. Then you're going to click on Work Path, and you're going to drag it down, not into the trash, but into the new path icon, which is to the left of the trash icon, and that will convert it into a path. Then, just like a layer, you're going to give it a name. That's condo building. So you're like, well, that's just great, Tim. That's what purpose? Well, here's the cool thing. Now we're going to convert this into a selection. This little button right here, load path as a selection. I'll click on that. And see how I have managed to select that. And I've done a really good job, right down to the pixel of selecting it. So let's go back to layers. I'm going to hit Command J again. And there it is. And it's picked out pretty much perfectly. So that is how we make selections in Photoshop. We do not use the tool that shall not be named. All right? So, yeah, there is selections, and I'll talk more about the pen tool and how to use it in some of the upcoming videos.